Welcome to the latest episode of the Claus Corner. Today's guest is a legendary drummer that took up the drums at age 9 and has not looked back since. His bands include BOMF, the Rick Derringer Band, Axis, Black Sabbath, Dio, Flesh and Blood, Appice, Heaven and Hell, Kill Devil Hill, Last in Line, Whammy, Hollywood Monsters, Sabbath Nights, Resurrection King, and more. On January 18th,
Wow, I'm tired after that.
you've lived a very long life in such a short time. But
Wow.
it gets even better, because I don't know if you knew about this one, but on January 18th, 2017, you were inducted into the Hall of Heavy Metal History for your contributions to heavy metal drumming.
Yeah, I remember that. That's because there's something hanging on the wall in the other room.
Uh-huh. So for my
Remind me.
audience, the people that are listening, of course I'm talking about the man, the myth, the legend, the great Vinny Appice. Vinny, how the hell are you?
I'm good, Rich. How you guys doing over there?
Oh yeah, not too bad at all. I'm in Connecticut. I know you're in California, so it's a little bit cooler over here, but not too bad.
Yeah.
You're not in the area where the fires were, are you?
No, luckily not. No, not close. So, but you know what? I took all my gold and platinum records off the wall and put them in a rolling suitcase, ready to whoop,
Yep.
things that are irreplaceable.
Exactly.
So, but luckily, thank God we weren't close to that. It's just such a terrible thing, you know.
Yeah. I know. I'm glad you're all right, because I have some friends over in that area too, and some lost their houses, some had to leave. They didn't
Yeah.
lose. So yeah, it's a sad thing. So I'm glad you're right. But I want to go back to Vinny Appice, the early years. As I mentioned, you were either 8 or 9, and I was doing my research on you, and I guess you and your brother Carmine, he's 11 years older, so you went to go see one of his bands play, and you just started playing the drums backstage, and your Carmine's like, "Mom, where the hell do you learn how to play this?" And your mother's like, "Man, he's driving me crazy. Is he any good?" So you started taking lessons with the instructor that taught Carmine.
Right.
So,
Yeah. There was no backstage thing. I don't know where
oh,
that came from, but
okay,
things, it's like that game Telephone, and things go on and on,
exactly.
and the story gets twisted up. No, what happened was Carmine used to, before the Vanilla Fudge, he used to rehearse in the house in Brooklyn
Okay.
with his band. They weren't a heavy metal band, so it wasn't that loud or anything. And I was like 8 or 9, and I used to watch them, and I was like, what great entertainment for a 8, 9-year-old kid sitting there and watching these guys play and make music. And that's where I got the itch to do it. And then there were drums left in the house most of the time, so I'd hop on the drums and mess around and blah blah blah. And then I used to break stuff. I used to break his cymbals, and he'd get pissed off, but that's okay. And that's how I got started. Then a little later on, Carmine would come to the house, and when he was in the Fudge, and I would play, let's go in the basement, I'll play. And I played, and he goes, wow, he's gotten really good. So then he suggested I take lessons from the same guy that he took lessons from. His name was Dick Bennett. He was a great teacher, and great guy. And he took me through all the books and stuff, and same books as Carmine, you know. And it's funny because I went to lessons for a little over 3 years, and in 3 years we only hit the drums one book, which was a jazz book,
Hmm.
Jim Chapman's Advanced Techniques book. And that's the only time we went on the drums. The rest of it was all on the pad and reading and things like that, which I know a lot of young drummers don't have the patience to play on the pad so much. They want, hey, what's that lick?
Yeah.
All that stuff. So different time.
Well, obviously, patience paid off, because you've had as you heard in the intro, you've had a great career, and you're still going. So you're
Yeah,
doing something right.
yeah, still going.
Well, I want to talk about, and you told me off air what your band way back when, and the reason to bring this up was BOMF, Band of, what was,
Mother of Fig Newtons,
you could say
Can you
it,
s- Fuckers.
Band of Motherfuckers. So the reason I bring that up, because how old were you back then? You were in your teens, I'm
I was
guessing.
16.
16 years
16.
old, and who were you backing up at that time?
Well, what happened was we had a band in Brooklyn. I joined this band with friends in the neighborhood. And the guitar player, Joey Dambra, whose brother was Louis Dambra from a band in Brooklyn called Sir Lord Baltimore. and they did 1 or 2 records, and some people know who they are. But Joey knew Jimmy Iovine, who was producing John Lennon and so many other people at the Record Plant Studios in New York. So, so anyway, Jimmy invited us to come down and do some demos at the Record Plant Studios, and so we did, and worked with Jimmy, which was amazing. How to play in the studio and all that stuff. So anyway, made a lot of connections there. That's how I met Rick Derringer, a band later on,
Mm-hmm.
the Derringer band. But we were there, and then the owner of the record plant liked us so much, it gave us a rehearsal room on the 10th floor of the Record Plant Studios in New York City. And that was like a godsend because we didn't have to pay for rehearsal time, We
Yeah.
weren't a bunch of kids. So one night they called us up. Jimmy called, said, "Can you guys come downstairs and do some hand claps for a session I'm doing?" I said, "Sure." So there was 9 of us, 4 horn players. We had keyboard players. So it was 9 of us. We go down, and when we walk in, there's John Lennon. We go, "Holy shit. Oh, fuck, it's John Lennon. My God." So we walked into the recording room. We didn't really talk to him yet. And then we put the headphones on. And now he's talking to you. And, you're hearing his voice telling you what he wants. And like, holy shit, that's John Lennon. So it was a song was called Whatever Gets You Through the Night. And we did hand claps on that song.
Mm-hmm.
So back then they didn't have computers to simulate hand claps. People did them live. So that was me and my band doing hand claps.
Wow.
And then we finished the song. And we weren't fanboys with John. We were really cool. We're trying to be cool. Finished. We walked out. We said hello. I don't even think we took pictures. We just wanted to be cool. We didn't want him to feel like, oh no, the bunch of fans are here. And then he wondered where we came from. So Jimmy said they rehearse upstairs. It's a great band. A couple of days later, we're rehearsing, and John comes walking in, and he sits down, and I remember the muscles in my arm got tight. It's like, oh God, sitting right there. And we played, and he really liked the band. Then he wound up asking us to do some videos with him.
Wow.
He produced the owner of the record plant's wife, Laurie Burton. She was a singer. We did 8 songs with him as a producer. And then he 3 or 4 videos, and then he asked us to do a live performance gig at the New York Hilton. And we did that, and then I found out years later that was his last live performance. And I'm like, I used to go to high school the next day, sit in the class, and sit there and go, "What am I doing in here?" But I was only 16, I'm with one of the Beatles. So
I love it. And then, as you mentioned, you played with Rick Derringer for a while, and you were still in high school. But at that time, you said, "What am I doing in high school?" And you left high school to tour with Rick Derringer.
Yeah, even before that, I left high school. I thought, you know what, I'm not getting high school very well, getting along here. Now, I used to be on the desk banging, drum, and the teacher's trying to teach, and she'd go, "Wait a minute, who's that drumming?" She'd go, "Vincent, stop that drumming." And I'd stand up and go, "Excuse me, teacher, did anyone else last night play with one of the Beatles?" And I got up and I left. So I left school.
Yeah. I don't think anybody else in that school, including the teachers, can understand what you were going through.
They probably thought I was full of shit. So,
Yeah.
but they knew I had a brother that was famous and playing the drums, as word got around. And so I just thought, this is a waste of time for me. I know what I'm going to do. Carmine was already successful
Mm-hmm.
in a music career. So it was easy for my parents to let me quit school and go pursue playing music, And then eventually I got the GED thing, the equivalency.
Yeah.
When I joined Black Sabbath, they asked me, "Do you have a high school diploma?"
I was going to say, was that really a qualification for Black Sabbath?
Yeah.
It
said,
seems like it might. I could see Tony Iommi being we really need somebody with a high school education here.
Actually, it was the opposite. If you have a high school diploma, you can't play with us. Forget about it.
Yeah, you're not our type. I'm sorry, Vinny.
Too grown up.
So how long did you last in the band with Rick?
Rick asked me well, after all this, I got a connection to play with this band Axis,
Hmm.
and I went down to Louisiana, and it was Danny Johnson on guitar, Jay Davis on bass, and I went down. I heard this stuff. It was really good, and we were a trio, power trio, and we played together. We did some gigs, and then Rick Derringer phoned me. It took him about six months later to phone me, so I was already down in Louisiana, and he said, "Look, Vinny, I'm putting a band together. I would like you to play drums and come down." I said, "Well, I'm in Louisiana, and actually, why don't you come down here because I have a band,
Hmm.
three-piece band, perfect for Rick. Come in, another guitar and vocals." And so Rick came down to Shreveport, Louisiana, and I remember everybody freaked out. Rick Derringer's coming down. Oh my God, he's coming down to Shreveport. So it was very closely knit, small area where we were.
Yeah.
So he came down and we played for him, and he liked everything. So he asked Danny to join the band too. He didn't ask Jay for some reason. I don't know why. And then about a month later or 2 months, we went back to New York and started rehearsing with Rick.
Hmm.
And Jay Davis, the bass player, actually played with Foreigner.
Ah.
He joined Foreigner when we went back to New York, but they could only pay him like $50 a week, so he couldn't live on that because he had kids. So he left. And
Can't imagine why.
understatement. So Rick lasted about 2 years. We did two studio albums, a live album, a lot of gigs, and then we weren't making much money and stuff. So Danny and I decided while we're young, let's put Axis back together and see what we can do now that we got a little bit of a momentum going on. And that's what we did. And we got a deal on RCA Records, a subsidy of RCA called Hologram.
Hmm.
And we put out one album. We got Andy Johns to produce it. So the album sounds great. Good drum sound, really good drum sound on it. And we were really tight. So we did that. And but it didn't go anywhere. We didn't have proper management, and the record company was lacking the usual crap. So so after a while, I went back to New York, and then I got a call from Sharon Osbourne.
Hmm.
They were putting a band again together around Ozzy. And I went, oh, okay. And I was probably what 19, 20 years old, and I go, Ozzy, he's fucking crazy, isn't he? So I heard things about Ozzy. So I called my brother Carmine because they toured with Black Sabbath with Cactus back in the 70s.
Hmm.
I said, I got this offer to play with Ozzy. Is he crazy? Should I do this? And so my brother told me, yeah, Ozzy's pretty crazy. So, you know, I wound up going, well, I don't know. They want to fly me to England. I didn't even know where England was back then. Never been out of the country. So I turned it down, said I couldn't do it. And then about 2 months later, I get a call from Black Sabbath.
I
And
love it.
I know that was a good year. They call and they go, Vinny, we heard about you. I think Warner Brothers Records had my number or something.
Yeah.
Either that or it was written on the Rainbow Bar and Grill in Hollywood on the wall. Need a drummer, call Vinny. I didn't do that. So, um, so I get a call. They go, you want to come down and meet Tony Iommi? We're looking for a drummer. We got 4 days in town. Bill Ward left the band. Oh, okay. So we arranged to meet Tony Iommi probably that night because they only had 4 days to get this together. And I went to the hotel, and Tony comes walking in, and he had the Axis album, the one produced by Andy Johns. He went, "This
Hmm.
is good, good." He probably listened to it and said, "Well, Vinny could play and got a really good drum sound on it, working with Andy." So that was my foot in the door. And then Tony and I hit it off really well.
Hmm.
He's a jokester, I'm a jokester, and we just hit it off. So he said, "Why don't you come down to rehearsal next day?" Okay. So I go down to rehearsal, and then I met Ronnie. I met Geezer. Jeff Nichols was keyboard player,
Hmm.
and I wasn't a huge Black Sabbath fan. I didn't know the songs to play them that well, but I heard Neon Nights on the radio a couple of weeks prior, and I'm driving in the car on the 405 freeway, and Neon Nights comes on, and I'm listening. Wow, that new singer, Ronnie James Dio, he's
Hmm.
awesome. they sound great. But I didn't follow Ronnie either. I heard Man on Silver Mountain, all that stuff, but I wasn't focused in on it. So here I am now. I'm meeting everybody, and they go, "What do you want to play?" And I'm like, "Oh, gee, I don't know. How about Neon Nights? Because it goes all the way through, and then there's a break in the middle before the guitar solo. So I could fake that, fake that all the way through." And we played that, and that was the first song I played with Ronnie,
Mm.
and it was the last song I played with Ronnie 40 something years later. It was
Wow.
the encore. That was the last song we played. It's weird. So once I played, then we tried some other stuff, and then they said, "Yeah, you're in," and it was up. I was in until Bill Ward came back. They was expecting Bill Ward to rejoin the band, and he never did. And then we went on tour, and I spent every waking minute listening to the rest of the set to learn everything. And then the first show we played was a big outdoor stadium in Hawaii,
Hmm.
and that was the first time Geezer and Tony played with another drummer.
Wow.
So they were more nervous than me. I had cheat sheets. I had a book like, okay, War Pigs and starts like that, and
Yeah.
the songs we did, Iron Man, and all that stuff. Some of the endings went on forever until we got relaxed. Okay, now, and then did the song. But I got better and better and better. Then we were really tight, and then so that lasted up until we did England, and then Warner Brothers wanted a song for the movie Heavy Metal.
Love that.
They they wanted a new song, so we had a couple of days off. So we went into, ironically, John Lennon's house. He
Mhm.
already passed by then, and they have a recording studio, and it was owned. The house is owned by Ringo. So here we are. We pull up to John Lennon's house. I'm like, holy shit, this is incredible. And I'm still like 21 years old. Wow. And there's the room he did Imagine in,
Hmm.
the white room with Yoko. He did the song Imagine.
Wow.
It's like, oh my God. Then we hung out and we look in the closet. There's all these Beatle platinum records falling out and awards and swag. And even Tony and Geezer were like, wow. And Ronnie,
Yeah.
oh, this is cool. So we wrote that song there and recorded it there. So that's a
Hmm.
different version than our album, which was called The Mob Rules. That
Hmm.
was done in LA at the record plant. So, and I got John's room. They gave keys to the rooms. Here's your key, Vinny. Okay. And I go up and there's a plaque, John and Yoko's room. I went, oh shit. But he just passed. So I thought, it's going to be kind of weird staying in that room. You know, I've seen some too many science fiction movies and horror movies.
You
But
and I watch the
hell,
same movies.
yeah, if you had a ghost of John Lennon, that's pretty cool, actually. So I didn't stay in that room. I got a different room. But
Yeah.
what a trip! And then when we had 2.5 days, recorded the whole thing, mixed it, and it was ready. And that was on the movie. And then we continued touring until the end. Bill never came back, which is good for me, bad for Bill. And then time to do another album.
Yeah.
So we took some time off, and then in LA we got together and wrote the Mob Rule stuff. Put
Yeah.
that together.
I have a question about that because I know I've heard interviews with Tony and Geezer, and they were so happy when Ronnie joined the band because they were happy that they had a singer now that can write his own lyrics. So, what was the writing process at that time with you and Ronnie in the band?
With me and Ronnie in the band, well, I wound up with a cassette deck with a couple of mics in the room,
Hmm.
and whenever something started jamming or playing, or Tony would start something, I'd come in, start recording it. Boom, you know. And then I did. That was my job. I was the keeper of the tapes. We basically jammed that stuff. Nobody ever came in with a full song, like Sign of the Southern Cross. Nobody came. Ronnie didn't come in. Nobody came in. I got this song, Sign of the Southern Cross. That didn't happen. We jammed everything in the room, beat it out, and then Ronnie would sing. He would write lyrics. He'd get up, sing some parts, and it was real loose and organic, as they say. And we got enough songs, and I kept the tapes. And sometimes at night I'd listen to them at home, and then I'd come in and go, this is what we did here. This is pretty good. And we'd start working on that, you know, riffs. So Tony's like the riff master, you know.
Yeah.
It's all these doomy, heavy riffs coming out, popping out everywhere.
And
So it was great. It was an easy writing process. And then we recorded it in LA at the Record Plant Studios.
the
Martin
funny thing
Birch
is he
produced.
developed that sound because he accidentally cut off tips of his fingers, and that's how.
Well, what that led to was the doctor said he couldn't play guitar, of
Hmm.
course. And then he figured out he had to loosen the strings. It was easier for him to play with the strings looser, which tuned down. And all of a sudden, this new sound came out,
Yeah.
you know, this heavy sound that nobody did that before. So that accident led to something positive and a sound that was not heard before. So
Yep. The
pretty
rest is
cool.
history. Well,
Yeah.
you did the Mob Rules, and then in 1982 you released a live album, Live Evil, which I love that album.
Yeah, Live Evil, right. If you spell it backwards, it says Live Evil.
Oh wow, that I never realized until
Yeah.
now. But that
Yeah,
was a
Live
great album.
Evil and backwards, same thing.
Why was that your last album with them? You and Ronnie.
Uh, because Ronnie wasn't getting along. There was some business issues between them, and nothing to do with me. I'm the new kid on the block. I'm like, hey, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
This is fun. And then finally, it boiled down to I think the last straw was the mixing of the Live Evil album. We
Hmm.
did that in LA too, and we were supposed to mix at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, you know. So Ronnie and I, we'd go together because we kind of live close to each other. We drive down together, and Tony and Giza would get there later. So Ronnie hates to waste. He's Italian from New York, like me. He hates to waste time and waste money, like, you know, sitting around in the studio at
Yeah.
$300 an hour back then. So, well, let's put up the drums and, you know, get some work done, you know. So he wanted to get some stuff done. So then that boiled down to Vinny and Ronnie going in the studio, mixing the stuff, and drums are loud and the vocals, and
Yeah.
that didn't really happen. You know, we're not gonna. Me, I got no say in this anyway. You
Yeah.
know, I would just work on the drums, what they sounded like. So that was like the last straw, and they had some other problems. I don't even know.
Okay.
And then finally, Ronnie just said, you know, we're at the Rainbow Bar and Grill in Hollywood because I'm going to leave the band. I'm going to start my own band. I'd love to have you play. And I said, really? Okay. So I had a choice of staying with the band or going with Ronnie. And I just thought, hey, man, I'm young. Let's go with this one of the greatest singers of rock
Yeah.
and put something together. Sounds like a fun, you know, and that's my choice. So,
Yeah.
um, and
Well,
then,
that's what I love about you because, like with Ozzy, you could maybe have had a sure thing for a little while. You're like, no, I think I'm gonna pass it up. Then Black Sabbath came along, and then Black Sabbath, they're a legendary band. You could have stayed with them. And you're like, no, I'm gonna try something new with a solo artist with Ronnie James Dio and see how that goes. I love the fact that you take chances and you're courageous in your decisions. Like, you know what? I'm young. Let's just go for it.
yeah, you got to. Otherwise, you don't get that far. You know, I could stay with Sabbath, and then all of a sudden it gets stale, and
Yeah.
they go, well, we're going to use Bevan, which happened at one point. And so, Ronnie, this sounded like fun. And I was 21 years old. It's like, what the heck? You know,
Yeah.
if this doesn't work out, I can go work in the supermarket or something.
What were Tony's and Geezer's reaction? Not to Ronnie, but
Uh,
to you leaving.
well, I called them. I don't think I spoke to them direct, but I said, you know, I love you guys and we're like family and stuff. I just thought it'd be easier for me to work with Ronnie in California than going back and forth to England.
Yeah.
So, you know, they understood. And then, yeah, we got along great. I had no problem. Ronnie and Tony Giza had the problems, you know,
Yeah.
business problem. It wasn't really much of a musical problem. It was always a business thing
Yeah.
going on,
Well,
you
the
know.
good thing is then you get back together, and then it lasts for a little while, then it ends, then you get back together again. So it seems like they've always had that connection and they've always gotten along. But then when they get back together, maybe some of the old feelings rise up again. But it's you made some
Well, we
great.
were like the second band there's the original Black Sabbath, and then we're the second band,
Yeah.
that really mattered, from what I'm told. This is not me.
Yeah.
Um, you know, these Heaven and Hell albums, legendary, and then Mob Rules comes out. That became a big record too, and Live Evil. So there was always that connection, like you said, But then in the interim, Ronnie and I, we started putting the band together, and we auditioned a bunch of guys in L.A. Some of them with names, and then Ronnie decided he wanted to get an international band, pretty much. So we
Mm.
went over to England, contacted Jimmy Bain, and he was out of town for a day or two. We had to go see. We went to see guitar players in London. Hey, this band's playing at this place. You want to go see him? So me and Ronnie would go. We'd walk in. It's a fucking reggae band. I said, I don't think that's gonna work. So we did stupid things like that until Jimmy came back, and then in the meantime,
Yeah.
Jimmy recommended Vivian Campbell, and then we got Viv over from Ireland, and then Jimmy was in town. We played, and it was like, wow, this sounds great. And then we did our thing.
Oh yeah. Well, you had such a great band. You, Ronnie, Vivian Campbell, Jimmy Blaine, Claude Snell. That
Not
those first.
Claude at that point.
Oh, he
Not
wasn't in
Claude.
the band. Okay.
No, it was four-piece band. Jimmy Bain,
Yes.
Jimmy Bain, and it was a four-piece band. And then they flew over, and they stayed at one of Ronnie's houses. He had a spare house, and and then we started rehearsing at Sound City, and wrote all the shit from Holy Diver together. We had a ball. It was fun. We couldn't wait to go to rehearsal. It was so much fun to be around everybody, and smoked a lot of pot. And
Mm.
those guys, they were drinking, not crazy, but
Yeah.
I don't really drink. So, and we created that album, and we thought, well, we're making a pretty good album. And then it comes out, and now it's like a cornerstone,
Oh
a
yeah.
legendary record. We didn't know we were doing that. So
Yeah.
I was
Now, is
lucky to
that
be,
true? I saw in the documentary that Ronnie hated the keyboards in Rainbow in the Dark so much he was going to cut the tape, and you're the one that saved it.
yeah, I said, you can't, who's keeping, we had the song, and it was playing in the rehearsal room. Angelo Arcuri was our sound man live and Sabbath, and then he became the engineer for Holy Diver. That's my good friend. We grew up together in Brooklyn. He was in the band with John Lennon, with myself. And then so we're listening to the song, and then Jimmy's in the room with a cigarette in his mouth and a Jim Beam and Coke, and he goes over to this little shitty keyboard, and he goes da 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 da, and we all go, oh. Da, 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 da. As Vivian says, even the ash from the cigarette didn't fall. He was able to come up with this part with a cigarette, drinking a drink, and it was a perfect part.
Yeah.
So he came up with that, and then the rest of the keyboards on that album played by Ronnie.
Oh.
Okay, Claude came in later on when we booking a tour.
Uh,
The old English way of having a keyboard player
mhm.
off to the side, so when the solo comes, the guitar, it's not so bare.
Mhm.
That's what Sabbath did. A lot of the English bands went that way.
Yeah.
So then we had Claude. Wendy found Claude, and then so he was keyboard player. You know, he wasn't involved in the real album. He
Okay.
was on the Last in Line album a little
Yeah.
bit more.
Yeah, that's right. I knew he was somewhere in between. I didn't realize that he
Yeah,
wasn't. So, but I have to say, what separated your band from most of the other band, pretty much every other band back then, even now, is the elaborate stage show you put in. I loved seeing your stage show. You had the dragons, the crystal balls, the
yeah,
lasers. I mean, it was phenomenal. I just loved it. I mean, the music is great, and then the enhancement with the live show it made it a spectacle. I mean, like it's like I couldn't wait to see every time you play because back then and I live in Connecticut. We had New Haven Coliseum and the Hartford Civic Center. You used
yeah.
to play the Civic Center in one part of the tour, and then come back to New Haven Coliseum and play the other part. I would see you at least twice a year, or whenever you came out with a new tour. I loved it. So
Yeah, yeah. Ronnie loved the big stage show. He wanted to give the fans just a great show, the best show we can do, and he paid big money for that. This was
yeah,
more his project, so he made it happen. Using money from wherever he got it, and then put it into the show. But a lot of times, those things the dragon and all that shit. There's always something that went wrong. The dragon's supposed to be moving, then all of a sudden it's and it's stuck, and there's oil dripping down. Just funny stuff that happened, with these with this stuff, lasers and all that shit. But second tour was an Egypt theme,
Yeah. Yep.
like I had there were two giant sphinx on the side of the stage that
Hmm.
lasers shot out of their eyes, and then the drum riser was a straight pyramid, big pyramid. And as the intro tape played, we start probably stand up and shout, and then the top of the pyramid would rise up, and there'd be smoke in there, and I'd play about it, kick ass. So one night, and we always said if it doesn't rise out, doesn't lift, maybe stall or do something. I don't know what we could do to save it if it doesn't work.
Hmm.
And one night it didn't work. So Viv starts a song. Oh shit. So I start playing, but the pyramid's intact. There's no drums. And then finally, halfway through, it goes up and there's all smoke in there. And I'm like, shit like that happened. And we're all laughing, of course. Like,
Yeah,
oh
it's
my
like your
God.
Spinal Tap moment.
Yeah, a lot of Spinal Tap moments with that stuff, with the production.
Yep. Well, I have to say, one of my favorite movies is Phantasm, and the director of that is Don Coscarelli. He directed the Last in Line video. What was that experience like?
That was amazing because there was such big budgets and big deals for videos,
Yeah.
and you got all these. The only thing I didn't like, they put too many actors in it. Like the band's hardly even in it. Ronnie's in it,
Mm.
but I think Ronnie should have said, "Hey, wait a minute, we got to get more shots of the band playing,
Yeah.
not the stupid acting shit." All that. A lot of videos were like that. They start playing, then there's two actors, and come on, who wants to see that?
Oh
So,
yeah.
but it was good. It was a big production, and it was fun. You know, so
Yeah, that was right around the time when MTV was in its heyday, and all the
right,
videos were coming. I
right,
loved it.
yeah.
Well,
Times have changed.
no, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, after you left the band after Dream Evils to play with the band Flesh and Blood with ex-Doc and bassist Jeff Pilson, why'd you leave Dio at that time?
Um. Well, at that time, we went through different guitar players, and I actually stayed on to start the album "Lock Up the Wolves." And by then, we had Rowan Robinson on guitar, and there was Teddy Cook on bass, and the whole band changed. And
Yeah.
it was like, and these guys were a lot younger than us. And I thought it's not the same vibe.
Hmm.
It seems like going through the motions. So I decided, as I said before, take a chance and leave. So I was good friends with Jeff Pilson, and he had a band he's putting together, Flesh and Blood, and it was good. But Jeff was singing, we tried it, and it was fun, but we didn't do much with it. We didn't,
Yeah.
it didn't work so well. It worked, but we didn't have this management and all that shit. So
Yeah. What I like about you is I mentioned you take chances, but also another thing for you is everything seems to fall right into place. And I want to go to 1992 for Dehumanizer when you rejoined Black Sabbath. What happened with that one? How did you get back into the band that time?
well, I was right before that. I was playing with a band with Jimmy Bain called World War III,
Okay.
and that was on Hollywood Records, Disney label, and it's a really, really heavy, dark band. And Jimmy was telling the guys, "You got to get Vinny for this. This is right up his alley." So I played with them for a bit, did the album, and then we did a little bit of a tour, and it was fun. That was great playing with them. And then I got a call from Wendy saying, "Do you want to play in the band again?" I said, "Yeah." What happened? Because Cozy was involved at that point, and they're trying to make the next album, which is right now. It's Dehumanize It.
Hmm.
But Cozy was on a horse and he fell off, broke his pelvis, and they couldn't put Cozy back together again, like Humpty Dumpty. It always reminds me of that.
All the
Sorry,
king's
Cozy.
horses and all the king's men.
Couldn't put Cozy back together again. He broke his pelvis, so he couldn't play. So Cozy's a great drummer, one of my heroes, and they go, what are we going to do? And they weren't getting along either. Ronnie wasn't getting along with Cozy. There's always friction and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call Vinny.
Yep.
So they call me. I fly out, and the album was stalled. They had spent all this money, and they didn't have it. Maybe it was not even half finished and stuff. So I went out, and I'm easy to work with and get along with everybody there. And things just started rolling. Boom, quick.
Yeah.
We started finishing the songs up, went in pre-production, and next thing you know, we recorded a record.
Mm-hmm.
Then they said, "Well, let's do a tour." So we went ahead and did a tour after that too.
Yeah.
And but that's when the time when grunge music was coming out.
Yeah.
So we were kind of turned into dinosaurs a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
I
saw
remember at
you at
one
a.
point.
Oh, sorry to
Go
interrupt
ahead.
you.
Oh, the one time we stayed at the Holiday Inn hotel, and we had to get to the gig, so we took the Holiday Inn shuttle, and
Man.
we're all sitting in there going, "Ooh, times have changed. Yeah, no limos. You know what happened?" We're in the shuttle.
Go from the stretch limo to the Greyhound bus.
No, yeah, to the even worse, the Holiday Inn shuttle.
At
So
that time I did see that tour, and like I said, I mentioned seeing you at the Civic Center, the Coliseum. At that time, you were playing a theater. It was the Bushnell, which was a
yeah,
smaller theater, so you were playing theaters. But I want to bring something up about that tour because I have a friend whose name is Jimmy Bell, and there's a reason I'm bringing him up because he was a guitar player. It was between him and Zach Wild with Ozzy, but
right.
he picked Zach, and Sharon said, "We love you." Geezer Butler wants to start a band, so he started playing with Geezer. And from what everybody said, Ryan James Dio has such an incredible memory. He remembers everybody, remembers people. So what happened was when he was playing with Geezer, he wrote a song called "Masters of Insanity." Master of
Right.
Insanity. And Geezer said, "You know what? Tony likes to write all his own songs. He doesn't want to play other guitar players' music because he rejoined Black Sabbath for that tour." And he goes, "I'll give you money for it." He said Geezer never got back to him. And Jimmy Bell was at a radio station where Ronnie was in Connecticut. And first thing Ronnie said came up to me, he goes, "Jimmy Bell, I remember you." And he goes, "I kept telling Geezer, just give him the money." And I guess he wrote a book and he mentioned this whole story in Ronnie's book. Ronnie mentioned this story. And he said, he goes, "It killed me because I'm watching Black Sabbath play it on tour and nobody knows that's my song." But he was so happy. And he said, Ronnie was so gracious, so nice. They were supposed to go out to lunch with some radio fans. And he
Yeah.
says, "I'm going to stay here. I want to talk to Jimmy." And he said they talked to him for about 40 minutes. Such a great guy.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, Ronnie remembered everybody's name.
Yeah.
He could meet you, and then 2 years later on tour, "Hey, Rich, how you doing, man? Hey, wow, you remember my name? I don't remember anybody's name."
That's me.
Yeah. I'm like, I know you from somewhere. Yeah, we did Masters of Insanity. I remember we recorded that,
Yeah.
and came out great. You know, it's a cool song, very different kind of song.
Yeah.
Had a bit of a time change in it, and yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that was the Humanizer era.
Yeah, I like that album. Now, was that supposed to be a one-off album, or did you plan on staying together with Sabbath and recording more music?
We were gonna plan to do more, and I forgot what broke that version up. I think it was something. Maybe they got back together with Ozzy there after that.
Oh, okay, yeah, that sounds about that time when that was happening. Probably, yeah,
This has happened 3 or 4 times already. It's the same thing.
yeah,
You know, I joined the band when Bill left, and then okay, that lasted for whatever, and then uh, the Humanizer comes along with Cozy. Then let's call Vinny. I come in, and then later on, it's happened with Heaven and Hell
hmm
and Bill Ward again, and it's like story history kept repeating. It's weird.
yeah,
So yeah, so we did the tour, and then I think they were doing something with Ozzy, and then Ronnie and I just continued with Dio, you know, and did that for a bit, and then fast forward to Heaven and Hell. Um, they were working with Bill Ward.
hmm
You know, I went off and did some other stuff. I don't even know who the hell I was playing with, but they were working with Bill Ward to try to. They wanted to release a Dio Years album,
hmm
Rhino Records. So Rhino Records suggested that they write some new songs. A couple new songs would sell the record better, you know. So they started writing, and then it was going really, really slow with Bill Ward. And I don't know what the problem was, but I heard things, but it was just going really slow. It was going slow where they finally said, okay, let's call Vinny.
Good old reliable Vinny.
I'm like Roto-Rooter if your plumbing's stuck for drumming. I'm the Roto-Rooter guy for drumming. So they called me, and Wendy goes, you want to play with the guys again? I said, yeah. And said, yeah, absolutely. So we made a deal. And then I pulled a joke on her. I don't know. It's not an insult to anybody. It was just a joke. I said, I got to tell you something, Wendy. I said, I gained a lot of weight. I had to get a special stool made to hold me because I'm like 300 plus pounds, you know? And she's going, oh, okay. But she already made a deal. Now you can't discriminate. So she went ahead and told the guys, yeah, Vinny told me this. And so when I flew over to England, they said, all right, we're getting together at Tony's house. We'll come pick you up. I said, great. This Tony has a studio in his house. So they pick me up. I walk into the house and they go, Vinny's here. And they could see Tony, Ronnie, and Keys are peeking outside of the wall to see what I look like. Like they were like the Three Stooges. And then
It's
I
like,
walk in, they go, you bastard. And it broke the ice. It was a perfect
yeah,
icebreaker because we haven't seen each other in 5 years.
yeah.
And then we had a beer. And then that night we started getting drum sounds. And we got one song down. The next day finished it,
I
you
love it.
know?
Good old reliable Vinny. I want to
Yeah.
stick with that for a minute because I've heard other pranks. As you mentioned before, you're a prankster. You have a great sense of humor. I want to talk about some of the other pranks that you've done. And I heard one where people used to like to steal people's briefcases, and then somebody got revenge on you by putting with something with.
Yeah. That was with Theo. We, after the gig, we go down to the bar, and the band and whoever else was down there having drinks, and then the accountant would come down, hey, put his briefcase down, which I didn't realize contained all the money. And I go, hey Ronnie, check this out. So I'd walk by and and hide it. And then we'd sit there and drink. And then at some point, oh, I'm gonna go to my room. I got work to do. And he'd look for his briefcase and he couldn't find it. He's going all over the place. And I did that numerous times. But
Yeah.
one time, probably Ronnie's idea. They got me. They had the pyro guy rigged some pyro onto that briefcase. So now they're watching me, and I go, okay, what? I go by, get this briefcase. It was, Halliburton, metal. So, and I grab it and it goes, I go, wow, you shit. All right, that stopped that. But did it a number of times. It was
That's
great.
right. And the other one I wanted to talk about is I love this because Ronnie had such a great sense of humor, just like you. So you had him play a joke on Tony where Tony,
Yeah.
his brand new car, and what happened with that?
Well, Tony pulls up. We were making Dehumanizer. We were in Wales, and we lived there, in-house studio, And so Tony pulls up one evening. And he says, "Oh, I got a new car. I got a new car. Oh, really? What'd you get? A Range Rover? Oh, let's go see it." So the four of us, Tony, Geese, and Ronnie, and I, and we go, "Wow, Tony, this is nice, man. Beautiful." Got what year that was, but beautiful car. And then we go back into the studio. Tony and Geezer first, then Ronnie, then me. And as we walk through the entrance, there's a can of oil. I go, hey, Ronnie, look, there's oil. Let's put it underneath the car. I said, but you have to tell Tony that it's leaking. Because if I did, he's going to go, oh, yeah, right. Yeah, the car's leaking oil. It's brand new. So, but wait a minute or two, wait a little bit before we tell him that. So we go in, and then Ronnie's there doing whatever. And then Ronnie leaves like he's going to the outside for a joint or something. Comes back. He goes, hey, Tom, there's oil underneath your car. And Tony goes, what? Oh, shit. So we all go back out there, and he knew I knew a little bit about cars. I would work on my own cars and stuff.
Yeah.
And I would go, he goes, Vin, what do you think? I drop down on the floor, go look under there. It looks like the oil drain plug is leaking, like it's not tight. And you're losing all this oil. He's go, so anyway, we go back in the studio. Ronnie and I are laughing, but we didn't know Tony called the Royal Auto Club. And we were in Wales. So the Royal Auto Club was miles away. So anyway, they came out. Then we had to tell Tony, oh, sorry, man. It was a joke. I said, it's Ronnie's fault. And he said, no, he did it. But it cost Tony like $400 for these guys to come out.
Oh, I
There was
love it.
nothing wrong with the car. So then the next day in my room, I went to town with Ronnie. You know, in the day we had the car. Let's go into the village and go to the store, buy some whatever. And then when I came back, my room was destroyed. Tony went in there with the cronies and they threw the furniture upside down and there were shit and nude chicks all over the place. And, you know, in the magazines, they posted them all over the place.
Yeah.
I said, all right, I deserve it. I deserve it. But I
Yeah.
got him good. That was one of the best ones.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I love that. I loved how you and Ronnie worked together on that one.
Yeah, it was perfect. It was perfect.
Well,
And one time Ronnie played in South America and the dressing room was kind of below ground. Like if you look out the window, the sidewalk was there. You could see people walking back. There was bars and stuff. I go, man, I don't know about this dressing room because I just bought a new laptop and some headphones, all this electronic stuff. I don't know if I'll leave my stuff here, you know. So I was telling Ronnie that, and okay, so then okay, we got to go play. We go play. We put the stuff. We hit it, you know. Then after the show, come back and Ronnie goes, "Hey man, they broke into the dressing room." I said, "What? My fucking laptop? Oh, fucking!" They got me. I went, "Holy shit!" You know, and I'm going, and they all knew.
yeah.
They're all laughing, and they all knew that it was a joke. And I'm freaking out, freaking out. I'm looking all over the place. Finally, I find the stuff in the closet, and I went, "You bastard!"
Sounds like you guys had a great time together for the most part.
Yeah, it was fun. That's
Yeah.
the band was fun. Tony's a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
Geezer, and you know, just certain things got in the way, you
Yeah.
know, and then it becomes shit.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, we talked about Sabbath. We talked about Heaven and Hell. We talked about Dio. I want to talk about something that another band I love. It was you do a drum wars with your brother Carmine. I love that.
Yeah, that was fun. We said we should do some stuff together. So we started that a long time ago, and it was geared to more like a drum clinic,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because we did a couple of clinics together, and we said, well, we should do something like that, you know, and do some more of it. So, you know, he would go on, I would go on, then we do a little bit together, and that was it. Then we realized, well, you can't really book this. It's not bookable in a club where people want to drink and shit. So we started putting the show together. So we got a band, and the band learned all the songs. So we go up and play together. We play mostly stuff, all the stuff from our histories. You know,
Yeah.
we play maybe open up with Mob Rules, and we play together.
Mhm.
And then we had another song called Drum Wars, which is an original, and we played that together. And then Carmine would leave off the stage, and I played a couple Dio songs or Sabbath songs. And then same thing, we play together. And then he would leave. No, I would leave, and he would play his songs. So it was good, and we did a bunch of those shows, but it was hard to sell because they kept thinking it was a drum clinic.
Yeah.
What's this, a drum clinic? No, it's a rock show, man. It was a high energy rock show because we'd be playing together and kicking each other in the ass, and we played individual, and we little bit of drum solo, heavy on drums, obviously, but uh, people didn't understand it. So
Yeah.
we did a bunch of those, and then we just didn't do anymore.
Well, back in 2020, I interviewed Carmine, and just at that time, he came out with a song that you did with him. It was called "Monsters and Heroes." It was celebrating the 10th anniversary of Ronnie James Dio's death. And
Monsters and Heroes.
yes, Monsters and Heroes. So at that time, and I couldn't find it. I wonder if I saw a new video for it, but they had a Zoom video because it was during COVID, so nobody could really be together. And I know you all record your parts. I couldn't find the Zoom video anymore. Does that still exist?
Um, I don't know, but we did a proper video at Vamp's
Yeah,
nightclub in Vegas. That
that's
one,
the one I saw now when I was doing my research on you this time. I found that video. I couldn't find the one that came out in 2020. I was just curious if that,
hmm, I forgot about that. I don't know.
yeah. And now, question was, the band was it called Appice or was it called Appice?
It was called APPICE.
I love it. Either way, it was
Carmine
great.
he used to say Appice.
Yeah.
If you listen to an album that came out with the Vanilla Fudge back in the late '60s called Near the Beginning, there's a everybody did solos on that album in the band. So Carmine did a drum solo, and then at the end, Tim Bogert, may he rest in peace, comes out and goes, Carmine Appice on the drums. Yay! And then they continued. So it's on record that he said Appice.
Ah,
And then when he joined Rod Stewart, uh, Rod would go, how do you pronounce your name correctly? I hear it Appice, I hear it Appice, I hear it Apache, I hear
mm.
all these pronunciations. So Carmine said, how do you hear it? And Rod said Appice. So all of a sudden, Carmine's now Appice. And I said, I don't like a piece. Sounds like a piece of pizza or something. I don't like that. My father said Appice, I stay with that.
Yeah.
And then uh, later on, Carmine played with Ozzy. So
Mhm.
much for the uh, his view on playing with Ozzy when I asked him. Oh, he's crazy. Here, then years down the line, he's playing with him. Right?
Yeah.
Can't trust your big brother. So when I played with Ozzy in the original Sabbath, what was cool about that was I was the only guy uh, to play with um, the original Sabbath. Yeah, actually, backing up a little bit, I got a call from Sharon Osbourne, and she wanted me to play with Sabbath again
Hmm.
because Bill Ward couldn't play, he had a medical problem, and he couldn't do it. So I did it. It was the European tour. So I was the only. I'm sitting up there playing with there's Ozzy and Tony and Geezer, and I'm like, hey, this is pretty cool. This is the original band. I mean, it's obviously cool with Ronnie, but now here's Ozzy. I'm like, wow, you
Yeah.
know, nice going. And I was the only other drummer to play with that band, the original band at that point.
Yep.
So, um, so anyway, so I did that, and then Carmine played with Ozzy a little bit, a couple of years before that. So when we played the live show, Ozzy, this is with Sabbath, Ozzy would introduce everybody,
Hmm.
and he'd go, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Vinny Appice on the drums. I went, oh fuck, Appice. Now I'm Appice again. So the next morning in the hotel before we left, I said, hey Oz, I said, we pronounce it different. I say Appice and he says Appice. Oh, Ozzy.
You do a great impression.
Appice. Yeah. I'm talking about Ozzy and my lights are blinking. So Ozzy, next show, he introduces everybody, goes, and Vinny, he looks at me, turns around, Appice. He was all worried to get it right. I'm thinking, you're the boss, man. I'm lucky to be here, right? You say it any way you want. So he was really concerned to get it right, and he did. He
Yep.
said, Vinny Appice. I went, right on, man. So, and that was from Carmine changing his name to that. So
That's right.
I never changed it to a piece.
Yep.
So,
I guess as long as
but you know
Ozzy
what?
spells it correctly on the paycheck.
Yeah, that too. And but you know what? It makes people talk about something that's like, well, why do you guys do that? It makes people talk about you.
Yeah.
Can't hurt.
Yeah. No, not at all. And you're both
Yeah.
equally great in your own way, and you both have your own style, and you have your own way of pronouncing your names. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got
Um,
to write a book about all this shit while I remember.
are you planning on it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm
But I'm
definitely.
not done yet. I'm not done yet.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
still going.
Well, let's talk about that. I want to go to 2010. I want to go back a little bit because the year Ronnie died, you and the original lineup without Clutch, no, you formed the
Right.
last in line.
Yeah, what happened was, well, that Ronnie died, but we didn't put the band together till 2015.
Okay.
And the way that happened is Jimmy Bain called me up and said, "Hey, man, Vivian's in town, and I haven't seen Vivian in a while. Do you want to get together and jam? Be fun, like a fun thing." Yeah, okay. So we got together, just the three of us, no vocals, and we started playing all the Dio songs. And occasionally, Sabbath, Heaven and Hell came up, but we didn't play the whole thing. And then we had so much fun. We said, "Let's do it again next week." So we booked the studio. We came down next week, and then I knew Andy Freeman.
Hmm.
We played together with George Lynch years before. We did a little tour with him. And I said, "Why don't you come down and sing? We're going to just jam some songs and it'd be pretty cool." So he came down and he nailed it. And everybody, we were all impressed, like, "Wow, this guy's fucking amazing. It sounds great." And then we decided, why don't we keep this going? So our manager at the time, Steve Strange, may he rest in peace, got us a deal on Frontier Records. So we started writing for a record, and uh, and then that led to doing some tours. And now we're working on album four, different
Wow.
record company, but Ear Music, and so that started the whole thing too. But that was all. We didn't try to put it together like on paper. Like, this looks good on paper. There's famous people in the band, and it should be an all-star band. It just happened. We got together and we said, "This works, so let's do some more. Have
Yeah.
fun."
Well, I can't wait to hear it because I love the first three albums, Heavy Crown, Two, and Jericho.
Yeah.
They're all great. So I'm looking forward to your next album. Do you have not a release date? 'Cause are you still working on it right now, or are you just writing the songs now?
Yeah, actually, after I'm done here, I'm going to record a song. We're doing this one different because Viv had to take care of his medical problem with cancer. So he had to
Yeah.
get a procedure, and so he's out of commission for a while. He's got to heal and get better. So we thought, well, we got a lot of riffs and a lot of ideas we recorded when we were on the road jamming. And so we listened to that. Really good, Andy Freeman, about putting that stuff together and riffs
Mhm.
and blah, blah, blah. So we have skeletons of songs. They sound really good. And I'm putting drums on it. Phil's going to put bass. And then when Viv's ready this month, he's going to put guitars on it. And we'll have at least something to listen to.
Yeah.
It sounds damn good. We'll see how good it comes out. We might use some of that, or it'll re-record it at a later date. So we're working on that. So this album won't be released until the end of the year, probably. So,
Okay. Well,
but
unfortunately,
that's a great band. We have fun together. It's a great band.
yeah,
A lot
like
of
I
fun
said, I
to play.
love the music, and I'm definitely looking forward to the next album. And I was going to say, unfortunately, speaking of cancer, I want to talk about the Def Leppard Hysteria on the High Seas cruise.
Yeah, that was quite a cruise. It was. We were booked on it to play Last in Line with Jimmy Bain. Jimmy Bain's the original bass player for Last in Line and Dio, Rainbow, and all that. So we where we did? We flew to Florida, and Jimmy was really kind of looked sickly. He was kind of gray, and but Jimmy, you okay? We had to keep an eye on him, and then he's outside the hotel before we go on the cruise smoking a cigarette. Meanwhile, he died from lung cancer. Jimmy, Jimmy just is Jimmy.
Yeah.
Jimmy Bob Dame, we used to call him. And so we played one gig before the boat on Thursday. Then the boat left on Friday, and we did that. It was good. We were a bit on edge, but we did good. Then we were scheduled to go on the boat that Friday morning, and we were supposed to play on Sunday. So we got Friday. All right, we're all hanging out. The boat's going, cruising down, and then Saturday, Def Leppard had to play. They were going on at 8 o'clock or something like that. And what's weird is Joe Elliott lost his voice,
Hmm.
so he was having a hard time singing. So they asked Andy to sing a bunch of songs because Andy knew all the songs.
Hmm.
So Andy got up and sang 6 songs with them. It was actually fantastic. Joe was up there too. He's like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Uh, But right before they went on, some girl came down to the bar. We were hanging in a bar waiting to go see Def Leppard. Crying. She goes, "It's Jimmy, it's Jimmy." And right away I knew that he died.
Yeah.
And what and she said, "Go to his room." So I ran up to his room, and he was dead. He
Wow.
was he was dead. He was all dressed up. He had velvet pants on. He had all his jewelry on. I said, "That's the way to go, Jimmy."
Hmm.
He went like it looked like he was going on stage.
Yeah.
And I look at him, I go, "He's dead, unbelievable." But I knew that was going to happen. I just felt it, you know. So I scanned the room, make sure there was no stuff that was incriminating around, you know, and then he died. And then the day we were supposed to play, actually it was Saturday night. Yeah, I got him back. We got in the arena, 2,000 people, and Eddie Trunk was the host. And we had Jimmy's bass there and Viv's guitar, and me, Andy, and Eddie were in the front. And Eddie announced that Jimmy Dane has passed away. You could hear the whole audience go, "Oh my God." You know, so we just did a tribute to Jimmy, showed some videos and some pictures, talked about him. Eddie, you know, of course, kept it moving, very interesting. So that's what happened. Then the next day, we played with bass player from Cinderella,
Hmm.
learned a couple songs, and we went by the pool and we played 5 songs, 4 or 5 songs. Yeah, it was quite a trip. I mean, Joe Elliott losing his voice, and then Andy coming up and singing, then Jimmy dies, and it's like, oh my God, this is
Yeah.
nuts. So
Yeah.
very
Sorry.
interesting.
So the bass player from Cinderella, is he the become a permanent member of Last in Line?
No, no, no.
Yeah.
He just filled in because he
Just
had
helped
different
out.
things he was doing. Yeah, yeah. Then when we came back, we took some time off, see what we wanted to do. Then we said, well, let's find another bass player. And then Phil Cezanne is a good friend of all of us. We know him for years and years and years. He played with Ozzy, obviously, so he's from
Hmm.
the same school. And then you know, we did we auditioned Phil, and then it was like really cool. And we started working with Phil, and it became really good.
Yeah.
So,
Well, another band that you have is called Sabbath Nights. I want to talk about them.
yeah, I started doing, you know, something. I know what it was. We went down to. I played with my friend Mike Carr. He's a guitar player in Ohio, and said, "You want to do this thing? We're going to play a whole bunch of Sabbath stuff and this and that and this and that." I said, "Okay." So I did that, and I thought this works out good. People loved it. Then I went to South America and Europe. Well, actually Europe first, and they booked me a tour. It wasn't called Sabbath Nights. It was just Vinny Appice, a night with Vinny or something like that.
Hmm.
Night of Sabbath, and it worked really well, really well. And then I said, but you know what? I should do some more of this stuff because it's classic music. Nobody's playing it. A lot of these Sabbath bands play the Ozzy stuff because it's easier to sing, probably,
Hmm.
than Dio. So I put it together. Jim Queen on vocals, who sang on with the Appice band with Carmine and I. And then I got 2 different bands on the East Coast and West Coast, and start booking dates. And then I went down to South America last year, and it was just me, but I had a great band there. These guys could singer could sing it without tuning down. It was just a fantastic band, and we played, you know, all the Sabbath Dio stuff, Children of the Sea, Mob Rules, Neon Nights, and people were in the audience, these big biker guys with tattoos, and they were tears in their eyes to
Yeah.
hear Ronnie's vocals, and and the girls were like, "Oh my God," crying. They're so passionate in South America. They're great fans, and just amazing people. And I did 6 shows or something like that. So they want me to go back, but I got to figure out how I can do that. You know,
Oh
but
yeah. You're a busy
the
man.
response is great. And we're playing here. We got some shows coming up in Florida. Got some shows in Buffalo, New York, and some in Chicago coming up, and it's really cool because we play all the shit. Mob Rules and
Oh yeah.
Children of the Sea, Neon Nights, and Sign of the Southern Cross, and you know a little bit of Dio stuff. So it's fun, and it's not like I'm not trying to sell albums. I'm not trying to become a big band. We just want to play,
Yeah.
get the word out, and it's fun to do, and
Yeah.
it's all my roots. Plus, it's not a real. It's a tribute, but it's a tribute plus me. I'm one of the
Mm.
original guys in the band, so
Yeah. Well,
makes it a little different.
I can honestly say it's always that incarnation of Black Sabbath has always been my favorite. I like the Ozzy years, but with you and Ronnie, I love those songs. I mean, Turn Up the Night, Mob Rolls,
Yeah,
Sign
turn
of the
up the
Southern
night.
Cross. I can go on Children of the Sea. I can go on and on. There's not one bad song I've ever heard from the two albums that you've recorded together. Oh,
Yeah,
actually, not counting Dehumanizer.
we play a little bit from Dehumanize It, but
Yeah.
when you go see a Sabbath band, it's a lot of these bands just do the Ozzy stuff,
Hmm.
the old Sabbath. So this is
Yep.
a little bit different. It's like,
Yep.
oh, this is another side of Sabbath that you don't hear so much because it's a little harder to play.
Oh yeah.
so, so I'm having fun doing this. So we got a bunch of dates coming up and stuff.
Oh good. Are you gonna be playing on the Northeast?
Well, we're gonna be doing Buffalo
Okay.
area again.
Yeah.
Got 3 or 4 shows up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be around.
I was watching it
Go
on
to my
YouTube.
site, vinnyappice.com. You can go to the Sabbath Nights
Okay.
site from there too, and you can see the dates we got.
Yeah. Yeah. Didn't mean to interrupt you. What I wanted to say was I was watching some videos online and there's a woman vocalist who sounds phenomenal. Who is she? She's I see her singing the Black Sabbath songs with cause yeah,
With me?
it's definitely with you. You're playing drums and it's in this small club. I thought it was Sabbath Nights. Maybe it's a different
Hmm,
band. It was
I don't know.
I have to check it out. I thought it was Sabbath Nights, but it's a woman vocalist, and she has this growly voice, and she sounds really good.
That's what's her name from Liliac,
Okay,
and we didn't. Yeah, we did play a gig in that was with this guitar player Mike Carr, my friend in Ohio.
okay,
Um, we only did like 2 shows.
uh,
It was fun, but she loves Ronnie, so she loved doing this. So it was just like a one-off.
okay. And that was the one that was on YouTube. That's why I saw that.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. So that was cool. And then I do a thing every Tuesday, plug on Facebook, Vinny Appice Official,
Mm.
and it's from my drum company. I do it here. It is the drums, Sawtooth Drums, and we started doing this at COVID. It was supposed to be for a month, and now it's going on 3 years. And it's like a live thing I do. I play to a song, but I can't play to Sabbath. I can't play to Dio because they send up this copyright notice, and then they try to fucking lose all the people that are watching it. And they screw the whole thing up. And it's like, hey, I'm on the fucking song. Why are you turning me off? But then yet I did that. I went, well, I can't play Holy Diver. That's a fucking joke. And then I look on Facebook and I see some chick playing Holy Diver and she got like 1 million views.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is that? So you can record a video of you playing a song
Hmm.
and you could put that up, but you can't do it live.
Wow,
Well,
that's
I don't understand that at all.
neither do I. Especially since you're one of the people that helped write that song.
Yeah. Rainbow in the Dark, I have writing credits on that, a lot of the Dio stuff, and I
Yeah.
can't play the song. They go, well, you could write to Facebook. Yeah, but I change the song every week. I can't write to Facebook and go, I'm going to play this song this week. I'm going to play this song. By the
Right.
time they get back to me, it'll be over. So, so I got to play to some things that I've played on before, like World War III or Kill Devil Hill. I did an album with Jim Green called Scream Taker. Really good album. Look up Scream Taker. There's a video out. It's like a cheesy Hollywood B-C movie, like a C horror movie. It's terrible, but the song is great. It's so terrible it goes with the song.
I gotta check it
Scream
out.
Taker. So I play stuff from that, things I find on the computer. What's this? Do this. And then I teach a little bit and answer questions, tell stories. Everybody wants to hear the stories. What's it like this and backstage and all that stuff, and people are really interested in that. So it's been going on for 3 years now. You know,
All right, well, I
so
definitely have to check that out.
yeah, check it out. It's fun. So I do that every Tuesday at 4 p.m. LA time, and then I do that, and I do a lot of sessions here, which is fun. I like doing sessions
Yeah. Now,
if
were
it's
you ever
good.
asked to be part of the Dio hologram concerts?
No, because I was playing with Last in Line. That was Wendy's
Yeah,
project. I don't think I want to do that. Yeah,
yeah.
I couldn't play and look over and see a screen.
I
You
actually
know,
said the same thing too. I've heard people use the argument it's like, oh, well, people who never saw Ronnie live because they were too young get a chance to see him. Like, that's not Ronnie. That's a hologram. I would never pay money to see that. I mean, my personal opinion. Maybe some people would like it, but I'm so lucky that I was old enough to see the original
well, you could
band
go
in
look
concert.
look at the videos of
Exactly.
Ronnie live.
I know. I agree with
That's
that. Yeah, and so
that's
I'm with you on that one. So I know you have to leave soon. So before we do, though, is there anything that you'd like to talk about before we go?
um no, not really. I like to thank all the fans that stayed with me all these years, and then
Yep.
I also do real quick rock fantasy camps. I've been doing this with David Fishoff, the owner. I've been doing this for about 14 years, and we got one coming up in a couple of weeks with Stuart Copeland from the Police,
Oh wow.
Robbie Krieger from the Doors, and Daryl from the Stones, and I love doing those. Those are coming up too. So I'm a counselor there, so I have a band, and I got to whip that band into shape to be able to play with Stewart and all the headliners. So we got that coming up. There's two camps with Stewart Copeland because they sold out, and so I love doing those. There's a bunch of those coming up. There's some in Florida, and I'm keeping busy. I'm not into going on tour with tour buses and all that shit.
Hmm.
You know, and unless it's a big tour and I got to have a hotel room at night. We always did it that way. I'm not one of those guys. Well, I did. Let's live on the bus kind of thing with Kill
Yeah.
Devil Hill. It's like, dude, and we did it with Last in Line too in Europe. You wake up, you're in the town, and you feel like shit because you just woke up, and there's the town is bustling. Everybody's shopping, and you want to take a shower, and there's no shower. Till you
Yeah.
get to the gig. So,
Well, it's funny
so
you say that
I like
because
doing what I'm doing.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was going to say it's funny you say that because I can't remember what year it was, but I started seeing Ronnie and your band in these big coliseums and civic centers. Then the last time I saw Ronnie was in this small club in the
Yeah,
next town over, and I'm like, oh, Ronnie should not be playing in this small club. It was great to see him
yeah,
up close and personal, but still, it's like he is made for the big stages.
yeah. I mean, it's like we started out, and then we hit it. And we were playing theaters. Then we went up to the arenas when Holy Diver came out,
Yeah.
and now the trick is to stay there. But I played with some fucking stupid places in Europe, little clubs. Ronnie's on this little stage that high. I went, oh man, can't even look at him like that. That's terrible. He
Yeah.
doesn't deserve that. So I felt for him. But he loved his music and he loved his fans and got to do what you got to do. But that was crap. That's why when Sabbath came along again, we went back to bigger places. And then Heaven and Hell, the last thing we did together was huge. That was big.
Yeah.
You're back in the arenas and stuff. So I'm glad it ended on a high note for Ronnie. You know,
Yeah. Well,
no,
I'm glad you brought that up because speaking of loving his fans, I love this story and correct me if I get it wrong. So I heard it when I was doing my research. Something about, I don't know if you were driving by or something. He saw some people waiting for him. He made them stop, got out, shook all their hands, took pictures with them. I said, I love that because he didn't have
well,
to do
that's
that.
when I first joined Sabbath, Black Sabbath, 1980. It was January, and we were somewhere up north, and it was snowy, snow on the ground, and it was really cold. And we're in the arena, so Ronnie and I usually left together. Geezer and Tony go back to the hotel. We stayed there and partied for a while, you know. And then so the limo pulls up the driveway, and it's going to go head to the gate to go back to the hotel, and there's a bunch of fans there, and it's cold. Ronnie goes, "Stop the car!" Stop. I'm like, "Oh." And Ronnie gets out and starts signing autographs and taking
Wow.
pictures with them. So I did the same. I went, very cool. And he always cared about his fans. And then when we did Holy Diver a couple of years later, we were touring in England in January, and it was very cold. And we were outside London. We're in London at the Hammersmith Odeon,
Hmm.
famous place. and we played there a couple of nights. And they would tell Ronnie, "Hey, there's a bunch of fans outside. They're waiting for autographs. There's probably like 50, 60 people out there waiting." And Ronnie said, "Bring them inside. It's too cold out there." So they bring them in. They sat them in the first couple of rows in the theater, and then we'd all come down and we'd sign shit for them. So that was the way to do it. So then, and fans don't forget that. People don't forget that.
Oh yeah. That's why somebody made a comment. They said, "Just you could be in a bad mood one day. This is, because he's an actor. He goes, you could be in a bad mood. That's gonna be the one time that person meets you, and they're gonna think that that's what you're like all the time." And he goes, "I
That's
gotta
right.
be on all the time." But yeah, I mean, that little thing like that, just getting out, saying hi to somebody, that's gonna make their day, make their life. Like, oh my
Yeah,
God, I got a chance to meet Ronnie James Dio. Got a picture with him. So yeah, I love the fact that
yeah,
you and
of
he
course.
appreciate your fans that much, where you go out and talk to them. Because I know some bands will just like, nope, that's okay. I'm off stage. I don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah. I mean, I with the Sabbath nights thing, I mean, there's not a big crowd, but 300 people, maybe more, 400.
Hmm.
And I'll go after the show and I'll go to the merch booth and sign shit and take pictures. And they don't have to buy a VIP ticket. We don't even do VIPs. It's like stupid.
Yeah.
But I'm out there, I meet everybody, and I like meeting them and listening to what they got to say. And so you got to do that. It's fun.
Okay.
If you don't enjoy it, then maybe you should stay home.
Well, the reason you're on the show is I met you at the Chiller Convention in New Jersey, and you were exactly what you just described there. You were behind the table, so yeah, $5 where it was like such a cheap price compared to all these other people. Took a picture, talked to you for a while, and yeah,
Yeah,
I'll do the show. I loved it. So
yeah. Usually I do it for like a bologna sandwich or something.
yeah, since I didn't have the sandwich, I gave you a couple bucks.
I'm cheap. I'm cheap. Yeah. Thank you, man.
Well,
Doing the
well,
interview.
you know what? It was great talking to you. I'm so glad they're on the show. I cannot wait to hear what's coming next. So, speaking of that, what's next and where can people find you?
Like I said, vinnyappice.com. You can go to Sabbath Night's site from there and be doing that. And next thing coming up is going to be the Rock Fantasy Camp at the end of this month. And then dates are coming up after that with Sabbath nights and then more camps and then 4 o'clock on Tuesday tomorrow. My drum stream from Sawtooth Drums. So it's cool. So you just do it right there.
Yep.
There's the drums.
Very nice.
Yep.
Yep.
It's a little loud in here, but yeah, it's
All
cool.
right.
I
Well,
know.
I can't remember what year it was. It was maybe like 20 years ago. There was a reality show. Sebastian Bach, Scott Ian, Ted Nugent, and Jason Bonham, and they had to form a band together. I think you should do that with the fantasy camp. That would be great. I would watch that.
Well, that's what we do, but it's with people I don't know. And I
Yeah.
got to round these guys up into going, okay, we got to play with Stuart Copeland. What song we do? Message in a Bottle? Okay, let's start working on it. Blah, 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 blah. And then we as the counselors, a whole bunch of us, Bumblefoot, me, Tony Franklin, we get together, pick about 4 songs, 5 songs, and the opening night party, we jam and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, no, I'm saying I think that should be on network TV. I would, or even streaming it. I would watch that.
yeah, yeah, it would be fun. It can't be too scripted, otherwise it's kind of
Oh yeah.
lame, you know. Because the people who write the scripts don't have any idea what goes on with a rock band.
Oh yeah. Exactly.
It's like
And
a rock band's like you're married.
mhm.
You're married to these guys, and these are not just normal people.
Oh
They're
yeah.
musicians. Some of them are whacked out, and some of them are not. So yeah, we do great. We're lucky because we didn't have to grow up
Yeah.
playing music.
Do you still keep in touch with Tony and Geezer?
Not really. They're kind of they lay low. I
Yeah.
email them once in a while, birthdays and stuff like that, and that's it.
Yeah. All right. Well, Vinny, good luck and everything. I
Okay,
mean, that was basically the Reader's Digest abridged version. There's so many other things you've done we didn't talk about, but
I
that was
know.
sort of like the greatest
Everybody
hits
goes,
reel.
let's do an interview. I got 20 minutes. I can go on and on and on, and
Oh,
that's
I
why I
know.
need to write a book because there's so many different stories. It's crazy.
Well, you know what?
Yeah,
When you
lucky.
come out with the book, I'll have you back on the show. I'd love to talk to you again about that.
All right, sounds good. Thanks everybody for watching and listening, and appreciate all that stuff, all the love and stuff. I love you too. And Rich, you take care. All right. Good luck. Be
Thank
safe.
you very much. Have a great
Bye bye.
day.
You too.
That wraps up the latest episode of The Claw's Corner. A huge thanks goes out to legendary drummer Vinny Appice for taking time out of his extremely busy schedule to be a guest on my show. Thank you, Vinny. I also need to thank editor extraordinaire John Bristol, the award-winning Elmwood Productions, for always doing a superb job editing this show each and every week and making it available to all on YouTube and Patreon. I am also extremely grateful to Rob Bull and Dal Coles for all they do to make my show available on Spotify, iTunes, Audible, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, as well as a local cable station in Connecticut. And lastly, but definitely not least, I need to thank you, the viewer, for always tuning in. Enjoy your day, everyone.
Now available in one collection. Confessions of a Frenetic Mind. 5 tales of blood-curdling terror. Available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.